Okay, hi, I'm James. I'm going to be talking about my volunteer project that I did down at the Steam Studios. And Steam Studios, if you're not familiar, it's an organization which hosts after-school activities for middle school students primarily. And they'll just come down and they'll build robots or just kind of come up with stuff. And what I was doing is I was actually helping the kids with a 3D printer, which is a lot of fun, but it's something that I hadn't actually used before I volunteered here. So that's something that I had to learn how to work with, which added quite a bit of stress because, I wasn't sure entirely how to work this, and it's an expensive piece of machinery, so I definitely did not want to break it. So that added quite a bit of stress to it. But so far, I've gotten through with no problems, and it's all been pretty good so far. And so, yeah, I've only gone a couple days, but I've really enjoyed it whenever I have gone. And so, the reason I picked the Steam Studio over kind of a lot of other things is that for my anchor class, I actually had to do something that was related to technology in some capacity. And a lot of the stuff that they recommended was for students who had a bit more knowledge in the field of expertise. It was, helping uh, some non-for-profit organization either fix up their website or even create a website for them, or stuff like that, or like helping other students with their code or whatnot. And that's just stuff that I have a little bit of experience with, but not a whole lot. So I tried to find something that wasn't as, you know, that didn't require as much technical expertise. And, I feel like this was a pretty good fit because I had to learn, and it's something that not everyone would know how to do, but it wasn't extremely difficult to learn either. And it definitely does relate to technology. And that's kind of one of the main points of the volunteer work is that whenever I'm helping, especially at the Steam Studios where I was helping to kind of train the next generation and improve their skills and hopefully their desire to kind of work with computer technology, like 3D printers especially, because there's some pretty cool stuff that you can do with that. Like one of the projects was actually creating a prosthetic 3D arm, which I actually didn't get to do because they were going to do it at Rockhurst on a day that I wasn't there. But I have gotten to do a little bit of stuff with the 3D printer, and it's just really cool and just tons of fun to play around with. And the stuff that the kids come up with is really cool. And that's kind of one of the other things is I enjoy working with kind of middle school age kids more than, you know, even high school age kids. And that's mostly just a personal preference because to me, it's just a lot less complicated whenever you're working with younger kids. Like, the older people get, the more complicated they get. So, whenever you're working with middle schoolers, they're going to ask you something like, you know, what's your favorite color? Or, what's your favorite animal? Or do you have any pets? Just stuff like that, which for me, it just helps me relax a lot because, they're not expecting a whole lot of me. And even what they are expecting, they're always just kind of looking up to me. And it's not necessarily the fact that it makes me feel infallible. I definitely am still conscious of trying to not make a mistake, but it helps me relax because, I mean, they're just more positive overall, and it's just kind of nice because it's not as stressful. And then, whenever you work with high schoolers, they start to ask some other questions like, what are you doing in school? And the questions only get more complicated from there. And, you know, whereas I know my favorite color, I'm still not entirely sure what I'm going to do for, the rest of my life. But that's kind of beside the point. So yeah, and I do have a little bit of experience working with kind of these younger kids. I worked for a little while at my local YMCA in the children's gym, and I just really enjoyed that, but, you know, had to move on eventually. And that's when, and, part of that was realizing that just kind of working with the kids was fun, but, you know, I enjoy now having this kind of technical aspect because instead of just like playing with them and making sure that they don't hurt themselves, I'm actually teaching them. And it's really fun because we have some really creative kids at the Steam studio. And, like I said, they're creating like robots and they're going to make prosthetic arms with a 3D printer. And to me, that's just really cool because I grew up, I played with Legos, and just creating stuff is a blast. And so it's a lot of fun for me to kind of watch these kids create with the same kind of passion that I have or had whenever I was doing that stuff. And also it feels good because it's you know preparing kind of the next or the upcoming generation for the future, because one of the things is that we are living in an age of technology. So, as they grow older, technology is only going to keep becoming a more integral part of their life. So, I feel getting them started early, like middle school, is very helpful for them in terms of future potential careers. If they're interested in them early and they have someone to support them, I think that's great. And that's one of the, and that's the basis of kind of my whole reason behind the volunteering is that whenever we help others, we're also helping ourselves in a way. And I know that there's a lot of issues that go along with volunteering. For example, there's a few shady organizations out there that are more into it for the money than for actually helping. But there are definitely organizations that do good, and they are there to help people. And whenever you do, you're just and it doesn't even have to be a big thing. Is I'm helping kids with a 3D printer. You know, that's not a huge thing, and it didn't take me like a whole lot of effort to learn. But just the fact that I did take some time, and I realize not everyone has time, but it didn't take, I'm doing a couple hours a week, and it's not a huge strain, but even that, I'm just helping the kids, and it makes me feel good helping the kids. And so that's kind of what my hypothesis was, is that the more I'm helping, the more I'm going, or the better I'm going to feel about myself, rather. And so how I gauged that was I would have, or I kept a journal, and before I went to the Steam Studio, I would write a journal entry about, how I was feeling currently, what kind of day I was having, and it's on or I'm going on Tuesdays, which I don't have class on, so usually not doing a whole lot until I go to the Steam Studio. But, you know, usually I'm underneath a 5, which is average, so like 3 or 4 usually. And mostly, but a lot of that is because beforehand, like I said, since I'm working with this 3D technology, I do get kind of nervous because I still haven't got, I don't feel like I have all of the information that I need. I really don't want to break it. But more important than that, I just don't want to mess up because of the trust of the kids and the trust of the organization that they're putting in me or putting on me. So, and also, I have a bit of anxiety to begin with, which does not help at all. But all of these things kind of conspire together to make me feel ex very worried and have, you know, a slightly worse mood than normal. But then, I get there, I start working with the kids, we work on their projects, and I just have fun and I relax and, I can talk to the kids and they're having fun. And so then afterwards, I also journal, writing about, some of the stuff we did the day, like, just some of the projects I helped the kids with, like building their robots or, helping them on the computer with some 3D models. And then I would rate myself again on the scale from 1 to 10, with 1 being, not feeling well at all, and 10 being feeling great. And for the, you know, all of the recorded incidents that I have, I was around a 7. So that's a definite improvement in mood. And I realize that this isn't, the greatest test because it's a soul experience. So, and not all experiences are going to be the same, so I can't generalize it to the whole public, but for me, it definitely kind of proved my theory that the more I'm helping others, the better I feel. And I feel like that's something that people kind of forget in especially today's society where we're all kind of trying to look out for number one, is that, just taking a little bit of time to help others can do wonders for you. So that's it. Thanks for listening. Have a good rest of your day.